I'm a strong advocate that the hardest skill in product are the soft skill. I mean, it's not about frameworks, it's not about OKRs. I mean, you're not going to get really far if you don't have your soft skill in place. And that's where I think value are really, really important.
Today my guest is Francesca Cortesi. Francesca is a passionate product leader with over a decade of experience in creating and scaling digital products. Her expertise lies in building and scaling product organizations, and in her career she has worked with some amazing digital products, delivering great value for users and businesses. An avid writer, her insights can be found at francescacortesi.com. So, hello, Francesca.
Hello.
It's so nice to have you here on the Productized podcast. I'm so happy to have you here with me today, and I am very happy that we'll have this conversation.
Thank you for having me. Really a pleasure to talking with you.
So, for today, let's start. You'll be the speaker in Productized conference this year, 2024, with a very interesting topic, which is value the product skills that you didn't know you needed. As part of the topic, you advocate that to be an authentic leader and to be a foster of innovation, you say that one's professional needs to know his own values and needs to understand them. And yet, for so many people, this is a challenging concept to grasp, but this is something that impacts everyone. So I'm very curious to know a bit more about what do you think about this. So why are values so pivotal for both career advancement and professional fulfillment?
I'm super excited to be a productizer talking about values. A little bit of a strange topic maybe for some in product management, but I believe I'm a strong advocate that, the hardest skill in product are the soft skill. It's not about frameworks, it's not about OKRs. You're not going to get really far if you don't have your soft skill in place. And that's where I think value are really, really important. And I would say, and I would argue, after working with many years with product managers, that, especially for product managers, because normally there is a certain type of person that becomes a product manager, is someone that always, seeks for mastery, that wants more, that is always bringing the next thing. You're not going to be able to do that in a sustainable way if you don't really know what you value and what gives you energy. So for me, I also started, this own research, because it was a journey for myself as well, starting from what bring me joy. So what is really important for me? What puts a smile on my face? What am I happy to wake up for in the morning? And that's where I started to work with values. And also I experienced that, many people or many more people talk about company values. For example, when you get interviews or you get asked, what are the company values? What is your leadership style? So you expect these things to be in place, but not as many people think about their own values and what is important to them. So that I think is that's why I wanted to bring up this topic and hopefully get some more people to dig in a little bit deeper in themselves to find their own values.
Exactly. So did you reach a point in your career that you thought that you needed to start that personal work for yourself in order to be able to advance?
It's not really to advance, because I've been a CPO for 5 years. So, in an advancement perspective, maybe if I would become a CEO would be an advancement, but that's not really in my radar. It was more I felt, as many people maybe feel, that I didn't find that joy in my work. It was getting a little bit repetitive, and it was I was getting in so many conversations that were more energy draining than energy giving. And I didn't really understand why. So it was more to find, to get back to myself and to find the drive for myself that I started that journey.
Okay, I think that's super interesting that you say, and I think many people can relate with that point of feeling that activities around you are energy drainers and not energy givers. And I think that's very important to know exactly how you say it, knowing your own values. But could you please provide a concrete example? It can be like in the professional workspace or personally as well, where understanding one's values can facilitate decision making.
For sure. I'll give you an example that maybe many people, I guess many product managers in different, or product people in different layers or levels can relate to. And it's about stakeholders. That could be like a concrete example. I mean, we're talking about energy draining meetings. And I mean, you're gonna have those meetings that are difficult. You're gonna have those difficult conversations. But I mean, it's more like, how do you navigate them? So, for example, like while doing this work with myself, I came up with one of my value. It's I am connected. So I really need like the connection with people. That's a fundamental part for giving me energy. And it's also something that, I mean, has always driven me in product development. I believe that you work better, you create better product if you have together, but then you need a connection with the other person. So it happened to me that, you get into a stakeholders meeting. And I mean, at some point, I mean, I felt like my energy really disappearing. I mean, I found this pattern. And then I started to realize that what then happened is because couldn't really connect with the other person. And I mean, it's not because you need to have the same opinion. You can have different opinions, but there was really not a way of, talking to one another. So the connection was not there. So when I realized that my value was about connection, and that was draining energy, was like not finding that connection, I got a tool to work with it. So what I started to do is, like I said in the meeting itself, exactly this. I said, I'm feeling that we're not really connected, that we are not cannot find a common ground, that we're not able to move forward. And when I said this, I get a 50-50 outcome. In some cases, the other person, realized this, and we could connect because we could go back and find a common ground and have a more fruitful discussion from there. In some other cases, that didn't happen. So just because I knew my value is not that helped me in all the ways. But what helped me anyway is that I could take this to another person and maybe help having another person, like a mediator, if you wish, that helped us getting forward. So in both cases, even if I couldn't resolve the situation there and then, knowing my value really helped me moving forward. So that was a concrete example. I can give you another one that maybe is important to others. And it's about as a product leader and many product leaders, but also, I mean, any product person is a leader in different ways. It's important that that you help other people to know their value so that you can help them choosing. So we did, for example, in my PM group, an exercise when we ranked what are the main drivers. And there was one person saying, for me, it's really important to have mastery in things, to feel that I am I'm the master of these things. And that gives me great value, and that gives me energy. So this simple thing helped me, giving him feedback on the things that he was saying, or giving him a little bit challenging situations so he could work with his mastery. So that's also a way of helping or taking decision in where to push people depending on their values.
Okay, that's very interesting because it serves as a way for you to, as a compass, let's say. But when you say that you add for yourself the value that you need to be connected, you mean in the sense of knowing the person personally and having empathy in that level, or is it something else?
I mean, it depends. I mean, it can be really broad. And I came to that value listening to my energy. At the end of a conversation, when did I find joy? When did I find energy? I mean, not all the time I can have this deep connection, because let's say I meet a person for the first time, but I will not, I mean, it's impossible to have a deep connection, but can we find a frequency where we kind of find each other? That is where I get energy. Or if we cannot find a frequency, maybe because we are on different values. For example, if I would talk with a person that believes that product development is, someone has one idea and that the best one that convinced on that idea, the others win, that's probably not going to be a good connection for me. And so I will not be able to work in the best possible way with that person. Knowing that is also something that I can prompt when I work with somebody. I say what I believe, I say what I need, and in many cases, because you are in the same company, you should hire more or less for the same values. Then you immediately find that connection. But it's about having a common ground basically, and you knowing what is my common ground. So you see if we can meet each other there.
And then you give the feedback to that to someone else that you feel that you're not connected. What do you propose to form that connection to establish it?
Yeah, in that, for example, in the stakeholders example, I think many people, on different levels, but there's always a connection involved when there are two people like talking. And the thing that I did, I said, I don't feel connected. I feel that we are not on the same page. Then I started to understand what is important to you. So, kind of like, okay, what can we find the connection if you dig deeper in what is important to you? And then if I know what is important to me, is there a middle ground there? So there is like, it doesn't have to be necessarily it's always from a personal connection, because let's say I have a discussion with the sales or marketing or with whomever. It's not that they come from a personal perspective, but they always have something that is important to them. Maybe to them it's important that they reach their target. It's important to make this customer really happy. It's important that, that they give an answer back to the customer, whatever it might be. Getting deeper into that can be a key to find a connection.
Okay. Yeah. Understanding their purpose on being there and why they are being so, there's so much friction.
Exactly.
Okay. So now that we have understood better, like the importance of knowing one's values as a product manager, my question would be, what strategies do you recommend for someone to discover one's values?
I think this is starting to find one value is the most difficult part. When I started with my journey, and I started and I was like completely blank. What do I value? What is important to me? It's like blank, panic. I don't know. SOS, help me. How do I go forward? I really clear, some things like, oh, I like working with people, or I like, growing environment, but this is not a value. So what I had to do, and I have some help along the way from a coach. I didn't do it myself, but I started to literally do two things. One was like writing down during the day when I have like high energy or low energy, and why was that? I have in my practice that I meditate. So after meditation, for example, my coach suggested, okay, write down. Are you focusing on do you have a lot of thoughts? Which kind of thoughts come up? Is like, do you focus on the pain or do you focus on something that is relaxed? Writing down all those things. Another method that is used pretty commonly is called the energy audit, which is similar to this, but you do kind of a user journey that we're all like really familiar with. And then in different times of the day, like every, 4 hours, every 2 hours, you write down like, a smile or like something in between or like a sad face, and then connect what you were doing. If you do that, then you start finding some patterns, and those patterns will give you your values. So basically, like, it becomes a puzzle when you find like those patterns, this energy, and then the energy will bring you to this I statement that should be your values. And that's like, it sounds a little bit hippie, I know. When she told me, oh, write down how you feel, I was like, what the hell? But if you trust the process, you will get there.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah, no, I totally get it. For me, it doesn't sound hippie at all. I just feel that sometimes you can be so overwhelmed that you cannot distinguish what's going on inside of you.
Yeah.
Like, you cannot say, you just feel uncomfortable, but you don't know why. It's just, and I feel that maybe that was how you started the process. You were like, I don't like what I'm feeling, but I don't know what I'm going to write. And you just wrote, I don't like.
That's exactly it. And I also think it's especially important to kind of put the right expectation on this. This is a journey. I mean, it took me maybe 2 months to get to my value, like working with, and I mean, I didn't do it by myself. There was this coach, and then I started to listen to myself, and I started to write down, and then I started to write down a bunch of sentences that at the beginning didn't make any sense, until then they were boiled down to some values. So it was gonna take time, unless you have done it before.
Yeah. And just for more or less an idea, like how many values have you concluded for yourself?
I have 4. I have like, I am connected, which I told you. The other one is I am developing. So it's like this idea of continuous learning and getting this learning environment. The third one, it's I am choosing. So I'm like, I am in a position when I have high possibility of choosing and determine what I do. And then the fourth one, which was the most difficult to put into words, is I am my words. Meaning that to me is really important. Like I have high integrity. And if someone, says something and does something else, that's really a big friction to me. So that was the most difficult to get into. But it's 4. I think it also should be not too many, and that should be formulated in a way that you can easily remember.
Yeah. Beautiful. I love it. I really like it, and I think I'm very excited for your talk this year.
Yeah, me too.
To go deeper into this topic.
Me too.
Yeah. Okay, so going to the second topic, which is based into one of your blog posts on your own personal website, francescacortesi.com. And you mentioned that you were an adept to defining principles for decision making, particularly for you within the context of shared spaces between multiple product teams that need to contribute simultaneously to that page. And you have shared that this is something that you have experienced yourself, and I think also many product teams have this type of situations within their teams, which is how do you decide how to move forward, what to do next in these shared pages? Because there are many people that want many things from that page. Maybe some product team wants to do a test to check if they can acquire new customers by clicking some red and green button, and there is another product team that wants to test ads, which should be something completely different. And those both things cannot exist at the same time. So could you please elaborate on specific problems that you are faced in this context?
Yeah, I can give a little bit of background. So basically, we ended up in that situation. I would say that the problem was exactly what you described. It was about how do we make sure that we can scale decision making while we're scaling the organization. So we're scaling. I mean, the product that we were working on. I mean, it's from a page perspective. I mean, we have 3 pages. But then we started to scale. We went from 3 product teams to 6 product teams. And obviously everyone wanted to be on the same page. And everyone wanted to do things, and everyone wanted to, bring forward their goals. Exactly as you described. I mean, it's a situation that is pretty common. And the symptoms that I started to pick up were 2 mainly. One, that there were a lot of decisions that were escalated to me as a CPO. So when they could, I mean, it was like, how do we do it? And then, I mean, we don't know, we fight, and we couldn't agree, and then you decide. So a lot of escalations. And then the other one was like, in this escalation, the other face of the medal was like, people that were scared of even trying. They were like, whatever. I mean, it's too complicated. It's too many meetings. It's too much, hassle. We're not even testing, which, I mean, both of the cases are really, really bad. because then you're building like an organization that either has a bottleneck of someone deciding or is not even trying to test. So the real question was like, how do we scale this decision making? And there is a pretty famous framework in the product world, which is the product principle by Martin Erickson. And that was something that, we started to think about. But those product principles are pretty broad. It brings up things like, retention over direct revenues, or this kind of user acquisition over paid acquisition, organic acquisition over paid acquisition. These are pretty broad things, and this will not help us because our decision were much more granular level. It was like, shall this, exactly as you described, shall this team go first in testing the button, or shall this team go first in testing a new layout? Because they have like two different goals. So what we did is we started to dissect the page. This page, basically our product teams are defined per user group or target group. So we basically had like 4 different target groups that had interest and product in the same page. So what we did is we started from job to be done. From our product perspective, overall product perspective, what is the job to be done of that page? And then we started to rank basically the job to be done. In our case, the product is Hemnet, which is a property portal. So the place where you go for finding a property. And the page was our result list. So basically you go in, you type an address or an area and the type of property you want, the price, etc., and you get the result. So, and in this result list, we had interest of the property seekers, so the ones that want to buy an apartment or a property, of the property sellers, the ones who want to sell the apartment. We had the interest of the real estate agents that also involved in the transaction and also want to market themselves. And we also have the interest of other B2B customers that paid for ads in that in that page. So we have these 4. How do we prioritize? So we started from like job to be done, and in this case, from our product perspective, the most important thing was prioritizing buyers. So we had the most important thing for our network effect of our products was having a lot of buyers finding the right properties. So we started like first buyers, second strategically was sellers, third was agent, and fourth the others. So we started like with this was the first step, like prioritizing target group. That gave some guidance. The second thing that we did is that for any target group and for any job to be done, we set metrics and what we called guardrail metrics. For example, for seekers, it was like click on the listing, meaning they found like a good listing, or scroll was another one, or for example, how happy they are with the result list in itself. These metrics became really important when doing experiment. So when doing an experiment, let's say you do an experiment for property sellers and you're aiming to increase the conversion of a certain product. That experiment goes really well. So your metric conversion goes up the sky, but one of the guardrail metrics for buyers goes really bad. Then that experiment is a no, because you're basically messing with the really important metric for the overall product. So that is the combination of both having the really prioritized target groups and having like boundaries, if you wish, like these guardrail metrics that tells you when you really have to, the constraints that you have that help us really finding a way of basically not escalating anymore and knowing which team will go to test what.
Mm-hmm. And what would you do if the test goes well, but the metrics do not change?
Yeah, then in that case, there was also like what happens. A test goes bad. Okay, fine. We don't even, nothing needs to be decided. Test goes well and the guardrail metric goes well. Go for it.
Perfect.
Test goes well and guard rate metric doesn't move, meaning it's not a negative impact, go for it. Test goes well, but there is a slight negative in the guard rate metric that needs to be escalated. Because it depends, or like, it could be really, really good and not that much negative. So we need to understand a little bit more. Test goes well and guard rate metric goes bad. No. So it was like you already have like some guidance that made the whole decision making much easier.
Exactly. But this is basically like after you have done the test, how do you decide if you move forward or not? But don't you need also a decision-making framework to decide if you'll do the test in the first place? For when, for instance, two teams want to test two different things?
Yeah, and that the test in itself is obviously designed by the teams. But then let's say if two teams wanted to run to test simultaneously, then we will go like on the prioritized target groups. So if buyers and sellers both want to do a test, then buyers has like the priority because the main job to be done is on the buyer perspective. So we have more to win if they do it in that specific page.
Exactly. Okay. And do you like one of the things that you also emphasize on your blog post is the importance of setting clear expectations for the accountability when you are implementing such a framework. Why do you say such thing?
Yeah, I mean, in this, I also want to add a little bit of context that, I mean, this framework is not that I came up with it and then I say, okay, now who's gonna do it this way. I mean, it was a process together with all my PMs, and that meant that they were highly involved in defining, like both in a discussion about what is the priorities of the target group, and then in defining the guardrail metrics and what should be, the wiggle room in the guardrail metrics, which meant that they had a high buy-in in this way of working. If that would not be in place, that would have been a problem because there would be escalation anyway. Because if someone doesn't agree, then the easiest way is to escalate. But regarding the accountability, I think this was definitely a change. And for any change, I think one key ingredient for success is making expectation explicit. So I know what is. We have the framework, and then I make explicit that I expect you as a PM to know that there is this framework, to flag to the other PM when there is a test, to know what are the boundaries of the test, to accept if there are two tests and someone else is more prioritized than you. All this is an expectation on you. And that is explicit. So once that happens, it becomes a smooth ride. If those expectations would not be explicit, that could be questioning along, or like more than questioning, unclarity along the way. Which will bring up, again, not fulfilling the goal of having like smooth decision making.
Yeah, this is very interesting, and I think it's also a very, like a situation that, as I said when I introduced the topic, that is very common to many teams, that they face this type of situations and then no one knows what to do, how to prioritize.
Yeah, and then many times it happens that, either you're like a little bit cowboy, like first goes and ask for, don't without asking, which of course sometimes can be good, but sometimes can be bad, or there is paralysis. So it's really a way of like trying to put some constraint to move faster forward.
Exactly. Good. Thank you so much, Francesca. So we are in the final note of our recording, and I would like to ask you 3 final short questions.
Yeah.
So first of all, 3 books that you recommend. It can be product or non-product related.
Okay, there are a bunch of books about super products, so I'm gonna give you 3 that are a bit different. We talk about values and inner motivation. So one that I would recommend is Thrive. That is about how to find, I mean, why is it important to work with inner motivators and not with external motivators? And there are also a bunch of extra resources to think and to read about values. Another one, which is connected with empathy and maybe looking at the words on a bit of a brighter side, is Humankind. That is like a nonfiction, but it's really like, it's all about how to see that humans are kind throughout history. So that I would really recommend for like a bit of positivity and also empathy that we always need. And then the third one, I think it's a really good book about delegation. It's not necessarily product development, but it's based on a true story about the US Navy Marine, and it's called Turn the Ship Around.
Interesting. Favorite app at the moment?
Headspace.
I love that one as well.
I use it every day, and my favorite part is that they have like this daily. I mean, they work the opposite of this daily usage. So I use it every day, but I mean, you can hide how many days you use it in a row. So the opposite of like what everything else is doing. I love it.
Yeah. I really like that one as well. And I love the night meditations that they have when they are describing like in the forest, in the gallery. Yeah. Amazing.
That's great. If you don't have it, try it out.
Yeah. Favorite vacation destination, that we are getting closer to summer?
Big cities. I love big cities. My tops are New York and Tokyo. I'm looking forward to go to Tokyo again this year.
Nice. Never been to any of those. And finally, where can people find you?
You can find me, I mean, as you mentioned, I have my website, www.francescacortesi.com. There, I mean, you can find a way of connecting, or you can find me on LinkedIn. Okay,
great. So, Francesca, it was truly delightful to chatting with you, and I'm really looking forward to reconnect with you soon at the Productized conference. For those of you that are eager to hear more from Francesca Cortesi, be sure to join Productized conference this year, 2024, in October.
For sure. See you in Lisbon.
See you.